Again, today I'm going to be talking about Bitcoin. I've made here a little Excel spreadsheet that I'm going to leave in the description, which I think would be helpful for you to decide when to sell your Bitcoin if you own any Bitcoin. And if you're watching this video, I'm guessing you do own at least some Bitcoin at the moment. So I'm just going to run through this uh, spreadsheet. I have a few different options of how you want to sell it. So the first one I'm going to run through here is if you're in the next bull run, you don't want to sell much of your Bitcoin. If you want to just sell a small portion and keep most of it. So here I've put the minimum price that we're going to start selling for the next bull run as 60,000 and the max at 250,000. So that's the same across all different options. And the reason I've chosen those is because I believe that's the lowest peak. If Bitcoin doesn't go to zero, I think the next bull run, that's realistically one of the lower peaks that I've heard of people, the lower estimates of a peak. So that's when we want to start selling personally anyway. That's when I want to start selling. And the highest realistic peak for me is 250,000. And I think that's well within, I think that's well possible. Might not happen, but yeah, it's certainly not outrageous. So let's go through CoinMarketCap here. So as you can see, from $1,000 in January 14, this was the original peak. This is a log scale. So on linear scale, you can't really see this was 1,000. Yeah, so it went from $1,000 all the way to $20,000. So from peak to peak, that's a 20x return on your investment. So if we're looking at something similar, that would be 20,000 or just under 20,000 multiplied by 20x would give us 400,000. So because it's harder to move the price at larger prices, it requires more money to have a 20x again. I've kind of scaled back here on the max price and the max peak as opposed to being 400,000. I put 250,000. I think that's a little bit more conservative, but not entirely impossible. So this is selling 0.01 Bitcoin at every $10,000 up until then, and that gives you 0.8 Bitcoin remaining after selling all of them. And this is how much you've earned for each transaction on your total. So you end up with 30 grand and 0.8 of a Bitcoin left. So that's really if you're not looking to sell very much, you're really a buy and hold kind of guy. But I think, yeah, just to be safe, you should sell some of it at least in the next run, because in the last run I sold none of my Bitcoin, even though I doubled my money, which doesn't seem like a lot, but to a 19-year-old kid, I thought it was a genius. So yeah, I saw my investment go up and up and up on paper, and I just did not want to sell, and I got really really greedy. Never sold to the top. The top started dropping. I was like, oh, it's gonna bounce back. It's gonna bounce back. It's gonna bounce back. I watched my investment shrink till I don't know. I lost 50% of my original investment. So I'd say, can't remember the exact figures, but yeah, it was about that. So from, let's say, $1,000, it went to $2,000, and then it never sold, and it crashed all the way down to 500. Um, I'm not going to reveal how much I actually have, but just for the sake of this, we've assumed that we have one Bitcoin just to make things nice and simple. So that's the uh, Bitcoin balance after selling 0.01, and you can see all the way down to 0.8. So I should have said that at the start, but that's just to clarify. So this is the kind of Bitcoin hold strategy where you're selling a Bitcoin amount rather than selling a dollar amount. And I think this strategy is better for sales rather than selling a dollar amount, because as the price goes up, uh, instead of selling like uh, if you were selling say $500 worth of Bitcoin each time, you're selling less and less Bitcoin each time. but here you're selling more and more dollar amount as time goes up, if you know what I mean. So in the long run, you're doing a little bit better. So I hope you can understand what I've kind of done here. Now we're going to go on to someone who is just in it for the quick term, but also wants to keep a little bit. So we have a very similar amount. Looks a little bit messier, but it's a similar idea. But you're going to increase your sales for each every 10,000 by 0.15, and you're going to end up, this is what the figure you'll end up with. So that's how much Bitcoin you'll have left at the end. So you only have 0.2 of a Bitcoin, whereas in the other one you're finished with 0.8 of a Bitcoin. So this is where you want to get rid of all your money and make a lot of fucking money in the process, because as you can see, I've multiplied the previous sell by 1.5 each time. So you're selling more and more as the price goes up. So this works out really well. So this is probably the best strategy out of all these if you want to make money. Or you can do something similar here. If you want to be left with 0.8, you can do something similar here, except instead of starting at 0.01 as a sell, you can start at 0.01, and yeah, you can work that all out for yourself. Okay, and now this is we're going to go through a dollar cost average approach, which is what most people do. For me, I think this is better if you're buying to dollar cost average, and for selling, it doesn't work out so well. As you can see, the total balance you have. This is a hold, sorry, so you want to keep a lot of your Bitcoin. So let's compare these. You have 0.8 and 31,000, so that's obviously better than. So you have 0.8 of Bitcoin and $31,000, and here you have 0.7 and $21,000. So yeah, that just shows that this strategy is a little bit better if you're selling, because the amounts that you're selling, the amount of Bitcoin is worth more as the price goes up. So you're kind of getting more money instead of just selling the same amount of money each time. This is better if the price is going down and you're selling, because you get more bang for your buck as the price goes down. So you end up with more Bitcoin for less money. I hope you're starting to understand what I'm saying. It's kind of hard to explain. So this is the dollar cost average hold. And the last one is you want to sell all your Bitcoin. So this is selling $5,000, dollar cost average to sell $5,000, and you end up with 0.2 Bitcoin in the end on $100,000. So at the end, we can see that this is the best strategy overall. You have 144 grand and 0.2 of a Bitcoin. This one's also pretty good if you're looking for money. You have 100 grand and 0.233 of a Bitcoin. So it's not a huge difference between the Bitcoin sales and the dollar cost average sales, but every little helps. Us almost 40 grand in the difference. I suppose it is a big difference, actually. I think it's really important to have rules like this set in place so that once the price starts going up, you don't, if you have all this written out and you have an idea of when you want to sell, or if you want even set down in stone, no matter what happens, no matter what my emotions are telling me, I'm going to sell at these prices and I'm going to follow that, you'll end up pretty well. Like, you're going to end up with a fortune, as you can see. Although, if you do like what I did in the last bull run and just never sell anything and just let your emotion and greed take over, you're not going to make any money at all. So it's just good to have some rules set in place so that when the time comes, you're ready to sell and you do very well. So yeah, feel free to use that spreadsheet that I've made. If you appreciate me making you that, I'd really appreciate it if you could drop me a like. And let's see if so just don't be afraid to take a profit. That's pretty much all I want to say. It's just a little quick video going through this. I hope you can find some value in this video, and I really hope it helped. If you want to see more similar videos in the future, please hit subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. See you again in the next one. Cheers.